Well, hello everybody. I just wanted to take a minute and go over some of my thoughts and opinions about Minecraft Live. Now, I'm a Java player, so I'm going to mostly specifically focus on the Java stuff. There was some cool Bedrock and Dungeon stuff that was announced as well, but I'm not going to cover that in this video. Now, one thing I gotta just say right out of the gate is, man, what a roller coaster this year has been as far as the development of this update. It's just been wild. You know, there are still things that we're waiting for from last year's update that won't even be here till next year. You know, it was really disappointing to hear that the Deep Dark was getting pushed back, and we'll talk more about that, but it's just been absolutely crazy. You know, they come out with this Caves and Cliffs update, and then they figure out it's just not doable in a year, and so they spread it out, and as a result, they end up totally redoing world generation and all these other really, really cool things. So ultimately, it's been fantastic, but boy, it's just been a lot to kind of go through. Now, Henrik did confirm a couple of things that we were suspecting. One is that underneath all of your old worlds, we're going to get 64 more blocks of cave generation. So that's going to be really, really cool. The other thing that they confirmed was that they are going to blend the biomes, and they showed a little bit of proof of concept on that. In the snapshots, it's been really rough, where you just get this hard line between your old world and the new generation. Hopefully that ends up being as good as they showed in the video. So let's talk about 1.19, which they announced is going to be called the Wild Update. There's a couple of things going on in that one. One of them is they're redoing some of the biomes to make them a little bit more immersive, is how they described it. They're also adding some swamp stuff, and the Deep Dark is going to be part of 1.19. Now, they showed us some concept art from both a birch forest and from a swamp. And as you can see when you kind of look around, they just feel a lot more lush. They're taller, you know, there's extra branches on the birch trees, there's fungus, there's new flowers, there's fallen trees. So this sounds like it could be a really, really nice update to our wilderness. And then the swamp update, you know, lots of little atmospheric things that they were showing with like the fireflies and, you know, some of those new things like that. They also announced a new type of tree, the mangrove tree, and it's actually getting its own biome called the Mangrove Swamp. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, way back in 2019, we did a biome vote, and the biome that won was the mountains, and they were going to add goats and taller peaks and snowier snow, and obviously we're finally getting all of that in the Caves and Cliffs. But there was another biome that was up for vote, and that was the swamps. And if you remember, some of the things they were saying would be included in the swamps were frogs, mangrove trees, chest in boat, and here we are finally getting all of those things. So some of the things that they show us, we do end up getting eventually, and I'm really glad to see some of that. The swamps have needed some attention for a while, and I think things like fireflies, new trees, mud, the frogs and tadpoles, it's really going to feel really, really alive and very, very cool. There was some pretty cool stuff they announced with the frogs, where if you take a tadpole to a different biome, they will grow up into different types of frogs. And they even alluded that different frog types would have different benefits for the player. So that's going to be really fun and exciting to see as far as how they implement that. The mud and mud bricks, both cool looking blocks, and I think those will be really useful for landscaping and building. I love how the mud bricks are sort of a different scale than the other bricks. I'm really glad to see that. The mangrove wood, happy to have another type of wood. New leaves, those root blocks look really interesting. The wood itself, once it's turned into planks and slabs, I feel like it looks a lot like jungle wood. I wish they would do something more of like a white wood at some point. You know, maybe alder or maple or something. But yeah, this just looks so reddish brown like a lot of the other woods. We'll see what they do with that. The chest in the boat, I'm kind of on the fence with that. You know, I usually don't have a problem carrying stuff around on adventures and all that, but as they said, the rivers are getting wider, so it might be a really cool way to transport things around. I have heard also from one of the developers that they will be interactable with hoppers and redstone, so this might be a new way to, you know, have movable storage, which is not something we've really had. So interested to see how that plays out. And finally, that brings us to the Deep Dark. Like I said, I was really disappointed to see that they pushed this back, but when they showed what they've been working on, since they had the benefit of time to kind of really dig in, it is astounding. It is amazing. Not only has it really been fleshed out as far as what it's all about, but some of the mechanics of how does the Warden work, how does Skulk work, it just looks so well thought out. Really, really impressive. The first thing they showed us was the deep dark cities, and these look awesome, just so good. Just really spooky, really creepy, really well thought out. Now the Skulk, its whole story has been fleshed out quite a lot. The first thing they showed us was this, Skulk catalyst. And what a Skulk catalyst does is if a mob dies, it gets turned into Skulk. And that's just a really creepy thing when you look around and you see this stuff everywhere. You're like, oh my gosh, this is where things have died. So really, really spooky. The other thing that was interesting is if you harvest the Skulk, you get XP. And so that is an interesting mechanic where we might be able to automate that into some sort of mob XP farm. Very, very interesting. The other thing I had noticed is how not only us, but other things will trigger the Skulk to send out its little signal. So I'm really excited to play with that and some of the redstone mechanics. I think it's just going to be so cool to figure out different contraptions and devices using that. The other thing they showed us was the Skulk Shrieker, and this is a freaky little block. Whenever you get near it and it's triggered, it lets out this terrible scream. And what they indicated is if you do this too many times, you are going to summon the Warden. I think that's a really cool mechanic, where if you're moving around too much and you're triggering this thing, the Warden comes to take care of stuff. The other thing I read in a tweet was one of the developers said that the Warden has 500 health points. Now, just for reference, the dragon has 200. I think a wither is 300. So they're intentionally making this a very, very difficult mob. As you can see in the video, it kills the player in 2 hits, and this player is wearing full netherite. So this thing is meant to be avoided. I don't know that it's going to be something that you're going to want to take on. It is definitely kind of a force of nature, so that is really, really cool. They also indicated not only does the Warden sense movement, through the Skulk, but also it can smell now, and you can hear it sniffing around. So even if you're very quiet and you sneak and you happen to somehow avoid the Shriekers, it's still going to track you down and sniff you out. So this thing is super dangerous. Now, Brandon, one of the developers, he did say there was going to be something special in the center of every deep dark city for the player to find. He also indicated there's going to be unique loot, which is exciting to hear. One thing I noticed, both in the video and the concept art, is there's this big rectangle. And to me, it kind of looks like a portal frame, which is really intriguing. Is there something for us to find there? Is there something that we can trigger? Is there something more to this deep dark city? Really, really fascinating. Really, really interested to see how that goes. And then as far as the mob vote went, we were voting between the Glare, the Allay, and the Copper Golem. The Allay won. So the Allay is a mob that if you give it something, it will go and round up anything else laying around that matches that. So some people are speculating that this is going to be really good for moving items or for sorting items. It also interacts with music, so note blocks and that sort of thing. I'm really interested to get my hands on it and see how that plays out and how we can implement this mob. So 1.18, the second part of the Caves and Cliffs, is going to be out in the next month or two. I was really wondering how they were going to finish that before holiday, but if they delay the Skulk and the Deep Dark, that makes perfect sense. So we can look forward to that, and then 1.19 will happen sometime in 2022. In my experience, it's usually late spring, early summer when the updates are getting close. Of course, once they start dropping snapshots, I will jump on that and share everything with you guys and what I think about it. And that's basically Minecraft Live 2021. Like I said, quite a roller coaster. A whole lot of stuff went on this year, and ultimately, I think it's going to be great. You know, the delay of the Caves and Cliffs and the delay of the Deep Dark has just made them better. There's still some things that we don't know about. Archaeology, that's going to be sometime in the future. Bundles, those are still on the back burner. But things are finally feeling like they're kind of back on track. And the future of this game and what they're rolling out is super awesome. The other thing I have to say is, you know, this game, which I bought 10 years ago, it's pretty incredible that we are getting an update every year, a major update for free. And so I'm just really grateful that the developers are still supporting it and that they're so into it and that they care so much about the game and what the players have to say about it. So super cool stuff coming from Minecraft. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you had fun. Please like and subscribe if you want to follow along on the adventure. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.